You've been here 12 years, in the playoffs a lot of those years. Maybe write a book for the other coaches. What's been the secret to being able to have sustained success?
Two things, I guess. Recruiting good athletes is one, and then two, I think holding your players accountable, which I think all the coaches do. Just my girls have bought into what we're trying to do, and we've been able to replace that with recruits each year. And once you do it for a while, it's easier, I think, because the returning players are the one that set the standard for those incoming players. So very rarely do I ever have to enforce the rules. The rules do it themselves. I used to set curfews maybe once or twice a season. Now the captain set curfews for almost every game, which I was not aware of. So they're, like I said, they take care of it because they know what they want to achieve in their time here, and they make sure the incoming freshmen understand what that responsibility and accountability looks like.
You're like a lot of the coaches in Bridgewater. You've been here a while. How does that help you establishing connection with recruits and with families? Because you're not just recruiting a kid, you're recruiting a mom and dad, and they know most likely you're going to be here because you've been here for a while. How does that help you?
Yeah, I think it's, in this day and age, I think you have to be able to connect with the families, not just the recruit. I tell my assistant coach all the time after a recruit visit, if I know the mom or dad, we got one of them to buy in, it's a lot easier to get the kid to buy in because they're going to look for their parents' approval when they make that final decision. So it does help that parents can look at the coach and say, hey, they've been here a while, they're part of Bridgewater, and they feel more comfortable with that. We get a question almost every time we have a recruit where, hey, are you staying or are you going to be here a long time, what have you. So it is something that the parents are concerned about, particularly leaving their daughter somewhere for 4 years.
Now, you were an assistant at Bridgewater one time before taking this job. Did that help? Did that make this job more appealing to you?
I don't know. The job made more appealing. I think it was more appealing for my family situation in the sense that my wife had a job here. We had already had our first child. Was starting to think about the second child. So I think from a family atmosphere, it was more appealing that way. And since being the assistant coach and moving to the head coach, that was appealing just because obviously my goal was to be a head coach.
Now you have a couple of distinctions, a national A license and a goalkeeping diploma. Tell us about those, if you will.
Yeah, so when you start getting into the coaching world, they kind of help just separate yourself outside of getting your master's and doing the volunteer and being assistant, which is what Sean's doing currently. Another piece of the puzzle that you can do is go out and get your licenses. So USSF, which is the United States Soccer Federation, which is our governing body of soccer in our country, you can get licenses through them, and the A license is the highest license that you can achieve in our country that's recognized by FIFA, which is the governing body of soccer in the world. So when you get that license, you're recognized around the world that, okay, you're somebody that understands and knows the game and is, I guess, instant credibility wherever I go. So when we take our team to Europe and I talk to other coaches over there, one of the first things they'll ask is, what's your license? And I say, I have an A license from USSF. And at that point, they understand. It's almost like instant credibility with them, and they say, okay, this guy knows what he's doing. From a coaching standpoint.
Now, we talked about your success in trying to prepare for what's going to be a difficult ODAC schedule. How hard is it to put together a non-conference schedule when you've won a lot of games in the past?
It's getting harder. I just was talking to Kurt this probably 2 weeks ago, starting to run into the problem where a lot of teams don't want to play us except for the ranked teams. Well, the problem with the ranked teams is they're further away. So it means we have to travel further to play those games. So it makes it a little bit harder to figure out how to schedule those games without taking the girls out of the classes. Obviously, it's a budget concern as well. But it does prepare us for the ODAC because the ODAC is a very strong league on the women's side as well. We typically have 2 or 3 teams ranked nationally and send 2 or 3 teams to the national tournament every year. So it's good that we play these tough teams. So when we get to the ODAC, the girls are not shell-shocked when they play against the ODAC opponents.
You had a successful season last year. How is that beginning to impact this team this year? The experiences they were able to obtain, and are you seeing hopefully some of that pay off, or at least?
You would like to think so.
Yeah.
We only graduated 1 senior last year, and we set very high hopes for these girls and set a very tough record for this non-conference schedule. And for whatever reason, I guess this is some wisdom that have been passed down from other coaches. But every season's different, and just because we were good last season doesn't mean we're going to be good this season. And we've had some early growing pains. We've had to change some things, the way we do things, just so we could be competitive in the games that we played so far. So in the sense of, there's that experience there, and for us having a little bit of a rough patch at the beginning of the season, my team's in a pretty good place. Like, we're not hitting the panic button and not worried. They're like, hey, let's go to work and let's get better. So from that standpoint, I think it's been good. And then I think the biggest difference we're going to see from last year's run is the incoming freshman class next year is totally based off of last year's experience or the season that we had. And the incoming freshmen next year are going to be special.
Now, you had a big win yesterday on the road, shutout. Break that game down. Tell us what you saw, what you liked.
Early on in the season, we really came out. We were struggling to create scoring opportunities. I think we were averaging 4 shots a game, which is not like us. We were typically around 18 to 20 shots a game. So we really focused on this past week, trying to connect our forward line with our midfield line so we could get numbers forward and create some opportunities. And yesterday was the first game in our 6 games so far this season that we've created numerous chances for us to score. Luckily, we were able to finish 2 of those. The next piece for us is now that we're creating those chances, we've got to finish those chances, because as we get into the ODAC and play the harder teams, we're not going to get those 20 chances. And when we do get the chances that we do get, we've got to put those in the back of the net if we want to win those games.
And lastly, you go to Salisbury next. You played yesterday. Have you had time to look at them? What do you know about them thus far?
We've gotten a couple scouting reports on them already. We'll start to dive into them a little bit more on Monday. But we do have an idea of their shape. I did see them play against Virginia Wesleyan this past week. So we do have an idea where we want to go. But at this point, we're really focusing on us. We're not at our full potential yet. So we really want to try to get to where we're playing our best soccer. We will give the girls some kind of an idea about Salisbury, but as of right now, we're still focusing on us and trying to make sure we're playing the best brand of soccer that we can play.
Best of luck moving forward, Coach Mike Vanthorpe, women's soccer coach. Thank you very much.